Hi, everyone. I'm going to take a few moments today and talk to you about fear and how we can transform fear and really embrace peace and clarity in our lives. So, if fear is something that is on your mind, perhaps holding you back, let's stick around for the next few moments and we'll delve into it a bit. Before I go any further, I'm Lori Ingram. I'm a spiritual coach. I have a long corporate career that I have transformed now into being a spiritual coach for others. And everything I speak of, I've experienced myself. So I'm going to give you a lot of tidbits and perspective that may be helpful. To begin, let's define fear. Fear is in our mind, right? Fear of, being seen, fear of failure, anxiety, doubt, unease, the inner critic, apprehension. Oh, there's so many words for it. Our brain, our mind, is almost programmed to bring fear to our lives because of the protection that it tries to give us. You think back to the Neanderthal days, the fear of the saber-toothed tiger, right? And there are legitimate fears that we should have today, such as, walking into traffic, being careful about, kind of physical thing. I mean, there's certain fears that are well founded. The vast majority of fear is up here in our mind, and it really holds us back. It holds us back from living. So if you think about something sad, you're going to feel sad. If you think about something happy, you're probably going to feel happy. But if we think about something scary, something we've never done before, something we're apprehensive about, we are going to feel fear. Fear does hold us back from a lot of things in our lives. It can hold us back from changing careers. It can hold us back from learning something new. It can hold us back from entering a new relationship or making a change or leaving a relationship. Uh, it can hold us back from picking up a new hobby. It holds us back from so many things. And as a spiritual coach, I believe we are essentially spiritual beings. We also are human. So walking that fine line of being spiritual is having an essence, having a soul, having um, all these things that yearn for us to be living, um, coupled with the fact that we have a human mind and a human brain. So we're going to talk a bit about that right now. And I want to share this quote. Fear is the opposite of love. With love comes freedom, but fear contains that. Love opens up our life. Fear shrinks it. Love is a yes to living. Fear is a no to living. People ask me, how do I find my purpose? And I often say to them, well, maybe we don't really have a specific purpose here. Maybe our purpose is to live all the emotions and all the experiences that we can have here on earth as spiritual beings. And perhaps fear is maybe one of the more difficult ones because we can live, if we are living in the future, if we are living in a place where we are always anticipating and concerned and worried about things that, will likely never happen, we're not being present. When we can bring ourselves into this point of being present rather than living in the future, it really helps to dissuade our anxiety, which is something that I spent many years shifting into a very mindful presence and has helped me a lot. The other thing I want to share too is that fear and excitement are often the same feeling. It's how our mind categorizes it. So think about this for a second. You're asked to give a little talk in front of a group of people and you really don't feel comfortable. You're like, oh, I'm afraid I'm not gonna do any good and nobody's gonna like me. And maybe you're really excited about it though. Maybe you've been given the opportunity to share something you're passionate about. And so maybe that fear is really just excitement that you're able to talk about something that you love. Um, just consider that for a moment. This other quote here: fear is always triggered by creativity because creativity is asking us to enter a realm of an uncertain outcome. Fear doesn't like that. Fear likes certainty, which is why it tries to keep us from taking chances. It tries to keep us from doing new things because fear doesn't like when things change. It's trying to keep us safe, right? The important thing is that we're aware of those fears and we're aware of when they are holding us back. This is from Mary O'Malley's book, What's in the Way is the Way. So to truly let fears go, we have to name them. We have to give them attention. We have to recognize them. And we will feel fearful when we recognize them. But it's, again, fear is all in our mind. It's a story we're telling ourselves. And 99% of those worries never actually happen if we really go back and think about it. It's that vigilance, hypervigilance of all the possible things that could go wrong and how do I control it when ultimately we can't control what happens to us. We can take the mindful approach of being present and saying, how do I take these emotions and feelings that I have about being fearful and recognize them and interrogate them a bit and investigate them and see where are they really coming from? And how do I shift that fear perhaps into excitement? There's a quote by Mark Twain that I think I have this right, but he says something along the lines of, so many awful, terrible things have happened to me in my life. A couple of them actually did occur. Because then that goes back to us imagining all the things that could go wrong, and so few of them actually happen. So how do we change our relationship with our thoughts in our mind, right? That they're just part of the experience, because our mind's always going to be chattering on. But how do we change our relationship with those thoughts in our mind so they don't control us, they don't hold us back? From Marianne Williamson, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. So as spiritual beings, essentially, I believe we have an essence, a soul, spirit, many words for it, that is a truth of who we are, and that is based in love. That is our truth. And it is always aching to get out because there is just an infinite amount of possibility open to us. We are very powerful beings. We can do all sorts of things once we acknowledge and recognize that we could potentially be held back by fear. And so how do we acknowledge that, and how do we say, let me take those steps to show that fear can't constrain me, right? Fear can't restrict me. Let me shift that fear into excitement for the possibility of doing something that I've never done before. And it could be jumping out of an airplane, and it could be just going to a meeting or a book club where perhaps we're very uncomfortable being around new people, but we take that step and we try it and we see what happens, and we enter that experience with curiosity and openness. So I want to share with you, it might be a good opportunity to screenshot this if you do have a journaling practice, some prompts, perhaps to help you wherever you may be on your journey with your relationship with fear, where you identify what fears are holding you back. And just take a few moments and say, what is really holding me back? What is my fear about my family might think about me, friends? Is that really enough to stop me from doing something that I know in my heart is right? And how can I transform my relationship with fear? So how do I shift it, right? How do I start to notice that those are thoughts in my mind? My mind is just doing what it does. Doesn't mean it's true at all. And how perhaps can I also feel into those fears and say, oh, is it really excitement? Maybe I'm just really excited about this opportunity. It is a little scary, and that's okay, but I can do it. Next, what small steps can I take? Perhaps it's as simple as just sitting down and writing out everything I'm afraid of, right? Um, Perhaps it's trying one of those things. Very simple step. It's seeing that, the roof doesn't fall in, everything's good. I made it through. And then saying, okay, what did I learn from facing that fear? Because if you look back on your life, there are probably been many things in your life that were scary that you've done and that you've made it through. So what have you learned from those experiences? How can you apply that to what you might be doing next? I also highly suggest meditation, mindful practices, and combining that with one of these kinds of rituals. It's also a way if you really are inclined to want to physically see something. One is to dissolve your fears. Right? I often will write them on like an Alka-Seltzer tablet or something. Sit with it for a few moments. And I'll use an example. I've always had a fear of being on video. It's not my favorite thing to do, for many reasons. Write on a little Alka-Seltzer tablet before I do something like this, and I sit for a few moments and I acknowledge that fear. I acknowledge that the fear, that what my mind is telling me, uh, but I know in my heart that I have wisdom to share. My life experience is full of all sorts of things. So I feel like, yes, I am going to share this. And maybe I'm really excited that I'm able to take this step and do it. Um, and then when I'm ready, I drop it into a glass of water. I watch it dissolve. I watch it actually fizz away, right? It's gone. It's gone. And I hold that intention for that fear to change into excitement, to change into that creative power of I'm doing something new. I am doing something I've never done before, and it's exciting. So writing on a tablet, dropping in a glass of water is one way, or writing on a piece of paper, placing it into a fireproof bowl or burn or something, and then lighting it on fire. And likewise, holding that intention that as it burns, that fear transmutes and changes. And then also, if you have a feather, or if you find a feather, right, hold the intention, hold that feather. Hold the intention that the feather is going to take that fear away and perhaps let it go to the wind, into the breeze, and watch it blow away. I want to read this poem to you by Kahlil Gibran. The poem is called Fear. This is just one excerpt from it. Let me read the whole thing to you. So I invite you to sit for a moment and just listen. That it is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, the peaks of the mountains, the long, winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. So consider that for a few moments, that as you step into whatever it is you might be fearful of, it's about you becoming more of who you are. It's about becoming more of this interconnected net of consciousness that we are, right? The more awareness we have, the more openness, the more we live from a place of love and self-compassion. So I thank you for listening to me for the past 15 minutes or so. Many ways to contact me. I work one-on-one with people. I offer also some workshops and group services as well. Would love to hear from you, even in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube to hear where this brings you. And I do want to end with this quote, often cited to me by one of my mentors, that everything you seek is on the other side of fear. So thank you for being here. And may you take that first step today and take good care. Bye.